Welcome. I'm Claudia Pilato with Hamptons Doc Fest, and this is the 14th season for our documentary film festival. We kick off on December 3rd and run through December 10th. And this year we are so excited because we are finally live back in the theater. We'll be screening both at the Sag Harbor Cinema and at the Bay Street Theater. Now, virtual has now become part of our lexicon, so in addition to our live part of our festival, we'll also have a specially curated group of films that will be available after the festival with a virtual pass. There's so much to know and so many great films to see. Please go to hamptonsdocfest.com to check it all out and buy tickets, and with any luck, we'll see you at the movies. Today, our panel is called No Ordinary Women. It was inspired by a film that we're screening in the festival called No Ordinary Life. That film is about 5 courageous women camera people who are on the forefront of wars, disasters, revolution, side by side with primarily male colleagues. It's their journey, it's their passion, it's their story. But we know that there are stories, great stories everywhere. And so we put together a conversation with our own No Ordinary Women. Let me introduce you to them. First, Judy Desedario. She is the CEO and founder of Town & Country Real Estate, one of the only independent real estate firms left on the East End, and as far as I know, the only one founded by a woman. Tia Fulford, who is the executive director of the Butterfly Effect Project in Riverhead. It's an amazing program which empowers young women to dream big and realize their dreams. And Cristina Capone, who is an investment officer for Wells Fargo Advisors and an entrepreneur in her own right. So Judy, let's start with you. Just tell us a little bit about how you got to do what you're doing, what your journey's been like so far.
I don't think people wake up as a child and say, I'm going to be a real estate agent when they grow up. I always wanted to be a teacher, so I went to school for teaching, and I taught health and phys ed, and got a master's in physiology, and then fell in love with the East End. And it was the person I was with at the time said, Judy, you should get into real estate. And I said, I don't think so. I don't think sales are for me. And one thing led to another, and it's been quite a journey. It's over 36 years now.
And how many offices? It's not just, you're not just, and in this crazy
Right.
Hamptons real estate market, how many offices do you have?
We have 8 offices throughout the South Fork and the North Fork, 2 on the North Fork and the rest are on the South Fork, spanning from West Hampton Beach to Montauk.
And what were those early years? What were those early years like? It was very different here than probably it is now.
Well, before Town & Country, I was a partner at Cook Pony Farm. So I called that my dress rehearsal, growing Cook Pony Farm from 2 offices to 10. And this one was the show.
Right.
But it's been quite a journey. And it is, as my business manager said, Judy, if it's easy, more people would do it. And that's why they don't. So I said to him at one point when Baron Lehman fell, I said, that's it. I can't believe it. Put your head down. Just do what you do it well. Don't look up. And when I looked up, I saw why he told me not to look up. So it's been like building a shopping center 1 brick at a time all by yourself.
So a little scary? Were there scary moments?
Well, I had been through the '87 crash before and a couple of recessionary markets and bull markets. So I was prepared for anything in a way, but to be the owner, it was very frightening because there's people who depend on us to keep everything moving and keep everything going forward. And I was watching my competitors close offices, and I took that as an opportunity to open offices, actually.
Okay, so today how many people?
160.
160.
Agents, yeah.
Wow.
I'm going to sleep in my next life.
All right, well, we're going to come back to that, sleeping. But Tia, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey so far?
So I started off in the medical field. I had high hopes of being a midwife. And I started working from the bottom as a medical assistant. As I was getting my way through, life happened. You know, you have children, you get married and all those things. And I wanted my daughters to be a part of like a sisterhood. So I signed up for a program, and in the midst of me attending that program and just making sure they had everything they needed, I realized they were missing a lot, you know. They were missing the core part of being a woman, being a young lady, being a sisterhood, uplifting and embracing our differences. And I wanted to try that. I wanted to know, for the betterment of my daughter, like, how can I be a better mom to my daughter? So I decided to create a program that would design with her in mind so she can have her tools that she needed. I started out in 2014. I did not believe that I would be where I am today. You know, 517 young girls later, we stand and we're constantly making sure that our girls have what they need to achieve, to dream, to succeed, to be able to constantly break those glass ceilings and push open those doors, and to do it confidently, competently, and correctly. So
Tell us a little bit more though about the Butterfly Effect Project. What would you say its mission is, and what are the kinds of programs you offer?
So our mission at the Butterfly is to create a safe space for young girls to dream and succeed. And we do that by crushing obstacles and creating opportunities. So we have a program that we have a curriculum, which we have our 4 center blocks, which is public speaking, mindfulness. Sorry, I'm going off the top of my head.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, think it through.
Yeah, public speaking, mindfulness. We do financial education. We do like body hygiene. So we do a lot of different things that, as young ladies, that we all kind of go through embarrassingly through life. Our goal is to create a womanhood, a sisterhood for these young girls. So that way they don't have to go and face the world alone. For some of us, you know, growing up is very different. So for some of us, we are entitled to certain things because that's just how we were, you know, made to feel. For a lot of us, we don't have that lot in life. So we have to work a little bit harder. We may not have a 2-parent home. We may not have, you know, the same education. We may not have access to food. We may not have access to programming. And these lack of will create a different person, a different outlook for the woman that we become and the woman that we interact with. So we want to try to stop those things, you know, put everybody on a same playing field, give everybody the same opportunities. So that way when that shot goes off, that on your mark, get set, go, everyone has the same opportunities to grab the same things.
So I want to come back in a minute to a little bit of the challenges with both of you of even how getting the foundation for your businesses, financing, how does that all work? But let's go to Cristina. Tell us a little bit about, I mean, you work in a pretty male-dominated environment.
I do. So when I was in school, I also didn't think that I wanted to go into financial services. They had one business program in my high school, and I decided that I was going to do everything in that program. I was going to compete in every competition, so much so that when my friends look back at our photos from high school, I was participated in this program called DECA, and I don't even remember what it stands for at this point, but you would travel and compete, and you would wear these blazers with the big DECA emblem. So all of the people that I went to school with said, oh, they look back at my pictures, I have my Hogwarts jacket on, like Harry Potter. And so, but I was all in on that. And that got me an internship right out of high school at Citibank, which was a pretty big deal for my senior year. And then when I was going to college, I got into a bunch of different schools, but Citibank offered me a full-time job. And I said, I can't have a full-time job because I have to go to college. So I got into Hofstra, I got a scholarship, and I made it so that I could take all of my course load on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 6 classes in a row. And then I worked for Citibank Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And we were also doing, it was in operations and technology, and we were doing this global project where I could work Singapore hours on the 2 days that I went to school. So I also didn't do much sleeping in my younger years either.
So what would that mean in terms of when you were doing that?
So I would go to class from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Then I would drive home from Hempstead, and then I would log on again at like, I guess 8 o'clock, 8:30, and I would work throughout the night. And so I was able to I would do a full-time job while I got my undergrad. Okay. Then I transferred to NYU, majored in finance and economics, and now I was kind of getting that interest in the market and how that all works. And there was an opportunity. My father works at Wells Fargo Advisors. His partner was retiring, and he said, if you want, this is how this works. You can purchase this business this way. And I knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't have any money coming out of college. I did work a little bit, but it wasn't enough to buy a franchise business or anything like that. And in financial services, you can sunset another broker by purchasing their book of business and their clients over time. So I knew I wanted to help people. I knew I wanted to be involved in the way that the markets worked, and that was interesting to me. And I said, I can give this a shot. So I bought my first book of business in 2012. Another opportunity came up to do it again in 2017, and now I have a full-service wealth management practice at Wells Fargo, and I love it. It's continued to motivate me.
And so I think that probably the
We need to
girls,
chat.
we need to make sure that there's some talent at this table that could really inspire young women, because you need those resources to kind of really take the next step. All very impressive stuff. I want to go back a little bit to talk about the sort of, how can you talked about buying a business, that's how you kind of got started. Did you have to invest financially? Like, how did that work for you in terms
To
of
open Town and Country?
Yeah, to open Town and Country.
Well, I did that after I was already in the business over 20 years. So
Okay.
I had, you don't buy a book of business, well, you can, but no, most people earn their book of business in real estate. And anyone who's successful, they work 8 days a week, not 7.
Right.
So I think that it was because I had so much depth of knowledge and my own Rolodex, and yes, my own money. And then I brought in Janet Hummel as a partner in Bridgehampton and Nancy McCann in Southampton, and we were off to the races.
And it just felt sort of organic? I mean,
It
was
did.
it just seemed to be the right thing?
It did. We did have investors who were interested in buying in, but I was a firm believer that you should really be an owner-operator, because people who want to invest in other people's business sometimes, and think about what happened, like Bear and Lehman fell, what would they have done? Shut us down because they were invested in us? And I hear one common thread between all of us, including you, and that's a spirit that you're born with. You're born with that spirit that made you do your classes 2 days and then stay up the rest of the night, and you had a vision and you have a spirit, and you always did.
Oh, thank you. I do think that that's important, because it really isn't about passion. It's about wanting to, whatever it is you're doing, wanting to take it to the next level, do the best you can with it. So I think that's a good thing to identify.
And I bet if you asked everyone, they would tell you that no matter what they did, whether they were weeding a garden or growing a business, they did it 110%.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, the nonprofit world is tricky.
Yes.
You know, I've been out here a long time, and I've been involved with lots of nonprofits, both in helping support them and also helping, been on many boards. So how did that work for you? Because it's a constant challenge to find enough money to be able to do what you need to do for the girls.
So that is still a challenge. Starting a nonprofit from scratch with no knowledge about nonprofit was the first challenge. For us, it really was, again, like what you said, passion. Like, I refused to give up. So I worked really hard, and we started off with 8 girls, and the girls started telling their friends and their families, and the group started growing, but the money did not. And in a nonprofit, which is different from a for-profit, we're not in it to make money, even though we need money to be able to make the dreams happen. So we struggle and continue to struggle with trying to find access to money. And then everything in a nonprofit world, especially in the Butterfly Effect Project, falls down to a budget, right? So they say that we can go for this, let's just say $500,000 grant. The problem is we need a grant writer. So now I have to train myself to become a grant writer. And then we have to have a budget that's, only a percentage of the grant. So our budget at the time when we first started was like $30,000, and it went to $60,000. And then today we're at $200,000, which seems like, when I say it, right, the little black girl inside of me says too, I was like, that's a great budget. But the truth is that's nothing, right?
Right.
Because we're still looking for help and still trying to figure out ways to create all these incredible storylines for these girls to make sure that they have opportunity to be the best person that they can be for themselves, their families, and their communities. For us, that's a really, it's just a challenge. We struggle with finding access to funders, to donors, to board members. We are in Riverhead, so there's a different demographic in Riverhead. And even though a lot of our girls that we service are from Southampton, it's still, like, again, it's hard just getting over the canal and getting people like, hey, we're here. Like, these girls are here. They're in your school district. They're your daughter's best friends. They're in your daughter's classroom. So just trying to just break a couple of walls down. And that's
And
always
how
a
do that, you
challenge.
said now there's
17
517 girls that are part of the program. How do they come to you?
in all different ways. They usually sign up in October. Sometimes a family service lead will, different social workers will recommend girls to us. Different organizations will have families with children that can utilize our services. Our services are a very holistic service, so it's not about just helping the girl in the program. It's about helping the family. So sometimes it can be they need fuel oil. Sometimes they need groceries. Sometimes they need stuff for, like, gas just to hold them over, a resume to be made. So I'm a firm believer that if the head is not right, then the body will fall. So if the parents are in a situation where they can't contain themselves, then how can we sustain the girls? And we want to do everything to get this girl to graduate to college and then to come back and reinvest in the community. And we have to do that by investing in the family.
Do you think that, not talking specifically about your businesses, but Judy, you're in a community, is community outreach part of the business model?
It depends on which business. You look at all of the real estate companies, they each have a different heartbeat. And for us, we wanted to make sure that Town and Country agents were community oriented. So we have a Town and Country challenge, give back time, tender, or money, whatever you can. All of our agents do something. So that was the goal, was to find that kind of an agent, that kind of a broker, and help them get to their high water mark.
Right. And what about with Wells Fargo and with what you do? Is that sort of community involvement part of the model?
Absolutely. So Wells Fargo has a lot of corporate initiatives, and we have the ability to participate in those. And a lot of it, because we're a larger company, I don't get to make those decisions. I have to take their lead on that and then find my involvement within the things that they choose to get involved in. But as an independent practice as well, we do every year, there are things that we kind of chair, and you go through the compliance channels and you make it work. But there's also the way that we run our practice that is giving back. So at certain firms, people always ask me, how much money do I have to open an account with you? There is no amount of money that I set for my practice that you have in order to open an account with me. So that's a personal choice that I make every day to serve whatever clientele that I feel best, need my help and that I can help and I want to help. So on the corporate level, Wells Fargo does a lot. We get to get involved in that. And on the personal level, I participate in events and volunteer my time, but I also choose the way that I run my business.
So
accepting.
what would you say, I'll ask each of you, and maybe we've talked a little bit about this, what's the passion that drives you every day? It kind of speaks to Judy's point about spirit, but if you think when you get up in the morning, what is that thing that drives you to keep doing what you're doing?
I can start with this one.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm incredibly proud of the trust and confidence that my clients place in me. So when I get that positive feedback, and it doesn't usually come and they pick up the phone and say, Cristina, you're doing a great job. I'm very proud of the performance of the portfolios that I manage, absolutely. But to me, it's when I am going to be in California, so I reschedule a review with a client that lives in California, and I say, can we do this next one in person? Not only do they say yes, but they want to bring their friend and they want me to stay at their house. They're insistent that they pick me up from the airport. Those types of things. Referring people that are special to you means a lot, because I know that you wouldn't refer unless you trusted. And then I like my dentist a lot, but I don't offer to pick him up from the airport. So those things are meaningful to me. Enriching people's lives in a way that is more than just helping their account to grow. That positive feedback is awesome.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. The real estate world, it's like the houses and the mega mansions and the people who are just trying to find a way to live out here.
I find it all very stimulating, honestly. No 2 days are ever the same, and I never realized how much I love change and I love challenges, and I've always been like that, no matter what it is. You know, I took 3 majors when I was in college because I just didn't know where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do, and wanted to learn. I'm an information junkie. I love statistics. I love math. I apply all of that. I think the agents we have are amazing. The board of directors are tremendous, and that's what keeps me going.
Okay.
For me, I would say it's the wins. It's the smiles, it's the joy, it's the success stories. It's when someone walks the stage and they're the first one in their house to go to college, the first one in their house to graduate, the first one at 16 to get a permit. Things that we take for granted every day. When you see these girls accomplish it with the smiles on their face, it's the trust that they've entrusted me with, not just from the girls and their families. When you get a call at home from a mom who's concerned about her daughter, and as she's talking, you're texting her daughter, her daughter's pretty much saying exactly what the issue is, and you can let her mom that she's okay. And their mom trusts me enough to not ask any other questions, but thank you. For me, it's knowing that my tomorrow is going to be a lot brighter because these girls had a better opportunity to shine. So for me, it's just, I know that I'm in good hands, I'm in great hands for tomorrow because I'm helping shaping those hands.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, I think I feel a little bit like all of you, in that I have also am also an entrepreneur. I've had 2 different PR businesses, marketing businesses, and I love the relationships. I love getting out there and negotiating things and seeing how I can make an impact, whether it's an impact with a client or whether it's an impact with a nonprofit organization where we can really bring something powerful to the table to help that organization go to the next step. And I don't think I could ever give any of that up.
No.
Now, here's a sort of hard question, because one of the things in the movie that inspired this was that they were women working in a very non-traditional environment and with a lot of male colleagues, which made it sort of difficult. We're all different generations of women sitting around this table. Have you had experiences where being a woman has made moving forward more difficult? Is that okay to ask that question?
Yes. For me, it definitely, if I'm in a room with and I'm in a room with a lot of men a lot because there's only 2 staff in my organization. So sometimes I'm an executive director, sometimes I'm Bob the Builder, sometimes I'm the janitor, so sometimes I'm the banker. So there's a lot of different roles I am called on to play. And sometimes especially when you're speaking about finances, some men have a way of thinking that obviously she cannot handle this type of funding. That's why no one has bestowed it upon her. Or they'll make me feel like I'm insignificant because I'm new. They don't look at the data, they don't look at my record, they just see this young woman, I'll take the young part, standing in front of them, and in their mind I lack experience because I don't have the credentials that they're looking for or that they need, or I don't have that strong, like I was told before, like I don't have that strong masculine touch to be able to drive this machine forward. So I definitely feel those roadblocks.
And when you feel that way, how do you overcome it? What do you do next?
I am very competitive. It's a part of my nature. So when someone tells me no, I definitely take that as I double dare you.
I like that double dare. What about you, Judy? Did you find any of that to be an issue?
Absolutely. It's a very male dominant, look at all the owners, look at, who supports them and everything else. It's very male dominated. But when I was teaching, I used to also have to be part guidance counselor for the girls in my classes. And they would be like, I don't know what I want to do. So maybe I'm going to take time off. Maybe I'm not going to go to college. And I would say to them, no matter what you do, a college education is what's going to separate you from everybody else. Go for whatever, 2 years, go to a community college, go to 4-year, get your master's, get your doctorate, do something. So when I'm in a room full of men and they're looking at me like, does she really know? It's a combination of I can be very comfortable in a room full of men knowing that A, I do have higher education, but B, I know my business very, very well. So once you can speak fluently about every aspect of your industry, and that only comes with years, then everything goes away. The fact that you're a woman goes away. The fact that you're young or old goes away. If you're purple, it goes away. If you know your stuff, you know your stuff.
Good advice.
What
do you think?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with Judy more. I feel like I thought that the challenge was going to be the perception of my clients that I was 22 when I came into the business, so I was young, and I would like to think I'm still young, young and a woman. So I knew that it was going to be me proving myself, but I thought that I was going to have to prove myself to the client. So I always tried to be over-prepared, intelligent, know your stuff inside and out. I'm exceptionally type A, as you can see by my array of pages here. So by doing that, I won them over, and I learned that as long as you are prepared and knowledgeable, you will win over bids for business more so than you think. What my biggest challenge is actually the perception of the business about how to address being a woman and being young, because I came into it a little bit later when diversity and inclusion started to get trendy, and all companies had a diversity department, and they started to put together these events. So I remember, if I could tell a quick story.
Sure, yeah,
when
please
I
do.
started in the financial advisor and training program, they flew me to St. Louis, and they had an identical schedule for everyone for these days of training, except for one breakout session. The gentlemen went to the bond trading desk, and the women had a female power brunch. And I said, okay. So immediately I called my father and partner, and I said, I'm going to the bond desk. And he obviously understood that I was probably going to do that, but he also didn't want me to be making waves my first quarter at the firm. So it put him in a really tough position, which I admittedly do a lot to him, and it happens. But my thing is, your corporate social responsibility, diversity, inclusion, these initiatives only go so far as they are useful. So sending the ladies to a tea party while the guys go get subject matter expertise, shake hands with the people that are actually going to be facilitating the trades for our clients. They're going to get access to product by knowing these people. You can't have me sit and have a sandwich while that's happening. So the way I overcome it is I made my way to the bond desk. But you don't always have the opportunity, the fact that it put my father in an awkward position for me to have to ask, the fact that it puts any colleague or me in an awkward position to have to ask, that shouldn't be. The schedule should be identical, in my opinion.
No, I think that makes a lot of sense. So it's a combination of, you need to know your stuff. That's my experience as well. As when I first started in my own public relations business many, many years ago, and not only was I a woman, but I was also young, very young. And so I would over-prepare and make sure that I could, address everything I needed to address. And then I think the other thing is, and maybe pardon this word, but you also had to be a little ballsy. As you did when you said, I'm not going to a lunch, I want to go over here. And I think that it kind of goes back to the girls that we're trying to learn how they can walk into their future, because it's a combination of things. You have to have enough confidence to be able to walk in and say, no, this, or I think it should go this way, and have people listen to you. So that kind of being authoritative, but having a lot to back it up. So you were kind of ballsy, and it kind of worked out.
Yes, I'll take
I think
it.
you have to be.
Yes.
If you're going to be a woman in business, any kind of business, you have to break your own barriers, because no one's going to break them down for you. No one's going to invite you to the bond meeting.
Nope.
You're just going to have to say, I'm here,
Exactly.
and be smarter.
Exactly.
And
that's
usually you're
so
probably
important.
the smarter one in the room.
Well, and that was when I was thinking about today. When you are prepared, people will think that you're the smartest person in the room because of your over-preparedness. But also you have to be there. The problem is some of this advice can go the wrong way too, because people will say, well, I'm the smartest person in the room, so they should hear me. No, that automatically sets you back then. You have to be prepared so that you can have your best shot at being, and then be humble enough to recognize that you're probably not, so listen. And I think that that's the part where women excel, is because women are tend to be, men are good listeners too, and I've met many good listeners that are men, but also we are innately very good listeners. So there's a dual thing. You have to know your stuff before you are ballsy and try and push
Yep,
your
right.
way. Otherwise, when
Absolutely.
someone catches you, then, well, okay. So
If you could start over, is there something that you wish you knew or that you know now that you might do differently? Now, you know, you two younger women don't have as much perspective as the other two of us, but so I'll start with you, Judy.
Oh, thanks, pal. Not really. I think that the challenges for my industry, is that it's ever changing. And the landscape obviously has changed here. It turned into corporate America, basically. So you just have to know your stuff and just, as my business manager said, put your head down, do your job. You're really good at it, just do it. And just keep moving forward.
And I think that's a reputation that, you know, you have. Now, you're kind of new still in all of this, but is there something that you've learned that's been especially useful?
I really just focus, and I'm true to myself. I'm true to the mission. No matter the opportunity that comes up, no matter the money that comes up, I have to make sure that that's my mission. Is that what I set out for? Like, what did you set out for? What was your original idea? And I'll let that be like my compass.
When I was at Citibank, I ran an internship program, and they used to, we used to teach all the time. And one of the things I used to say is, if you are green in an industry for whatever reason, it could be because you're young or because you're just trying something completely new, you have to be respectful and courteous and gracious of what you have to offer to the people that you're trying to learn from, and find great mentors to help you make that way and continue to prove yourself. We've all said that. I think also, put yourself directly in the path of the information that you're trying to learn. So like Judy said, our businesses, yours as well, no 2 days are the same. You always have to be continually on the ball. What's the market doing? So as soon as I get ready for the day, the shower goes on, and so does CNBC, my podcast, because and it's so easy today. I can't imagine what it would have been like to try and do this 40 years ago, where access to information.
You're on a bike and you're reading the Wall Street Journal
While
while
you're
you're
on a bike.
bicycling,
Yeah,
and that's
The
how you
pages
do
of
it. Yeah.
So to me, put yourself directly in the path of the information for the world that you're trying to penetrate.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you kind of said this already, kind of like the number one tip to trade off. So I don't know if are there any other tips if you're doing this every day with the girls that you work with. Is there one tip, or have we already covered that really?
I forgot who said it, but there's a mantra. It basically is to be successful, know what you're doing, believe in what you're doing, and love what you're doing. And I think that pretty much nails it. If you don't really love what you're doing, you're not going to be successful. If you don't really know what you're doing, you're not going to be successful. And if you don't believe in yourself, then you have to go to work for somebody else.
Yeah, that's all very good. So I have one. Do you have anybody else have anything else they want to add on that
I
in
was
that
just going
area?
to say, appreciate your team, because one thing that I've learned, I've now grown, and now there are people that work under me, and even the people that have allowed me to get to this point, understand the job that they do so that you can understand how to appreciate them. When I bought my first book of business, there was a woman, her name was Yvonne, and she was instrumental in all of the administrative work that went in. I would sit at the meeting, and then there would be something from the meeting, and she was able to take it so that the clients had a seamless experience. Without her, I never could have done that. Now I brought on my own dedicated resource. Her name is Alyssa. She's phenomenal. Again, you can, as you grow, you can no longer be a one-man band.
Absolutely.
And so you have to appreciate people, because I've watched a lot of successful brokers not appreciate their team, and then the stuff starts to fall underneath. Things start to go, and the clients feel it. So
it's not all about you.
Not at all.
It's about the people who work for you, and when
Absolutely.
they're successful, you're successful, and
Yes.
that's
And
definitely.
they work with you.
They work
they
with
don't
you.
really work for you. They work with
Yeah, I
you.
agree.
They
In
choose.
all of our different industries, the people with us are entrepreneurs themselves. They're running their own business, just choosing to do it under our umbrella because it's comfortable. It's an environment where they know they have support, and that makes a big difference.
And you've also started to expand just a little bit. I
Yes.
think you have a development director now. or-
Yes, so we're super excited to bring on Brian. And I totally agree with what you said. Brian and you. Brian to me doesn't work for me, she works with me. And it's really important for me to know that she is appreciated and she feels appreciated. And just making sure the girls see that and see the diversity. One of the things that that the Butterfly, I think, differs from both of your businesses, we really are diversity. When I say that, that's one of our mission statements, to make sure that we are creating that diversity in every place. So we want that speckle of diversity everywhere. We don't want to talk about it. We want to show you what it looks like. And Brian coming on and bringing on her, a white lady in a room where there's hundreds of young black girls, for her to walk into that room and they see her as Brian. They don't see a white lady. They don't see anything other than just Brian. And I think that's incredible that in 2021, when everything's sometimes a little out of whack, we definitely can be able to smile and have fun and just be family oriented the way it used to be, without seeing all the things that are separating us. And so we're super incredible and lucky to have her, and waiting to bring on our next person into our little family. So we're excited.
Well,
Great.
I mean, this has been a really fun conversation. You are three incredible women, and I'm so appreciative of you guys being here. I hope we'll be able to have more conversations in the future, and thank you very much for
Thank you,
today.
Claudia.
Thank you.
No ordinary women are sitting around this table.